Hey everyone and welcome. Today we are going way beyond the boring old flashcard. We're going to talk about how you can actually make new vocabulary stick. So if you ever felt like you're just spinning your wheels trying to learn new words, you are in the right place. Let's dive in.
So let me just ask you this straight up. Does the idea of memorizing long lists of words just fill you with dread? Because if it does, you are definitely not alone. This is one of the biggest, most common hurdles for anyone learning a new language.
And it usually feels exactly like this, right? This frustrating, endless cycle. You spend all this time cramming, you feel pretty good about it, and then just a few days later, poof, the words are gone. It's a super common complaint, and you know what? It's a really inefficient way to learn.
So, let's just tackle this problem head on. A lot of learners get to a point where they hit what feels like a vocabulary wall, where it feels like your progress just grinds to a complete halt. And look, this isn't just a hunch. When you actually talk to students, they consistently say that this is the single most painful part of their entire language journey. And that's a huge red flag that for most of us, the traditional methods just aren't cutting it.
So how do we break through that wall? Well, it all starts with a huge shift in how we even think about words. We've got to stop treating them like items on a grocery list and start, bringing them to life. Oh, I absolutely love this quote from our source material. It just nails the idea perfectly. Words aren't these static, boring things. They're alive, they're flexible, they're packed with story and meaning. The skin of a living thought. I mean, once you start seeing them like that, everything changes. And this really shows you the shift we need to make. Over on the left, you've got the old way, rote memorization. It's totally out of context, it's boring, and let's be honest, it's super easy to forget. But then on the right, you have active learning. Suddenly, words are dynamic, they're in context, they're engaging. Our entire goal is to get from that feeling of a chore on the left to a feeling of discovery on the right.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Well, you need a toolbox. See, there's no single magic bullet here. The real secret is having a whole bunch of different strategies that you can pull out depending on, the word you're learning or even just what kind of mood you're in. So, today, we're going to look at a few key tools you can put in that toolbox. We'll check out how tech can help, how you can turn learning into a game, and some really clever strategic methods for cracking the code of new words.
First up, let's call this the detective method. It's really all about etymology, breaking a word down into its little building blocks. Take a word like predict. If you know that pre means before and dict means to say, then the meaning just clicks. To say something before it happens. See? You've just decoded it like a detective. Next, we've got the storyteller method, also known as mnemonics. Now this is where you can get really creative. You're basically creating a weird, memorable story or image that links a word's sound to its meaning. The source had this amazing example for Mandarin speakers learning the English word customer. It kind of sounds like ka si tamen, which means trap them to death. So you can just picture this super aggressive salesperson literally trapping customers to make a sale. It's so vivid, you'll never forget it.
And of course, there's the play method. Gamification. Look, research totally backs this up. Turning your study sessions into a game makes a massive difference. It seriously lowers your stress about getting it right, and it boosts your engagement through the roof. When you're having fun, you're not even thinking about the fact that you're memorizing stuff.
So, okay, we've got all these fantastic options. The detective, the storyteller, the play method. But what are people actually doing out there in the real world? Let's take a look at the data. So a survey of high school students showed some really clear favorites. It turns out that breaking words down into their component parts, whether that's looking at compound words or digging into roots and affixes, is by far the most popular approach people are taking. But hang on, here's the million-dollar question. Does being popular mean it's actually the most effective? Are the methods students are using actually the best ones for making those words stick around for the long haul? And this is where it gets super interesting. For just pure speed, memorizing a word as fast as possible, using roots and affixes wins. But for long-term retention and for overall best effect, analyzing compound words actually comes out on top. So what does that tell us? It tells us that different methods are good for different things.
All right, so with all that in mind, how do we pull this all together into a system that we can actually use? It's not just about knowing these strategies exist, it's about knowing how and when to apply them. Well, one fantastic model is called the 3 Ps. First up is presentation. Don't just read a word and its definition, experience it. See it with images, in a story or a video clip. Second is practice. Actively use the word, but in fun, low-pressure ways like games. And finally, production. This is where you really make the word your own, by using it in your own sentences and stories.
And that practice step is so important. Don't just drill yourself. Play games. Things like Mr. Bomb, a super fast-paced flashcard game. Or get creative with Monster Products Company, where you have to draw a monster based on vocabulary commands. You could even play a version of charades. The whole point is to make it active and fun.
So, as we start to wrap this up, the biggest single takeaway here is about making it personal. This is your learning journey, and you get to pick the tools from the toolbox that actually work for you. Seriously, stop searching for that one single best method because it doesn't exist. The real goal is to build your own personal toolbox. Mix and match. Combine the detective method with the play method. Use stories one day and word roots the next. It's all about turning what felt like a painful chore into an effective, personalized adventure.
And that really just leaves us with one last question for you. After seeing all these different options, from decoding words like a detective to telling crazy stories to drawing vocabulary monsters, which new strategy are you going to unlock first?